The phenomenon of selfies has braved all odds and proved critics that it was more than a fad. Something about capturing yourself and immortalizing everyday life in your smart brick has made good front cameras almost indispensable in the smartphone game. Let's see how Vivo is trying to step up the game with the V7 and the V7 Plus. The Vivo V7 and the V7 Plus are pretty similar phones, and hence in this review, whatever we say will be applicable to both the devices unless mentioned otherwise. Out of the box, the first major change that you'd notice is on the front, the display. True to the trend of late, the V7 also graces an 18:9 full-view bezel-less display. While the V7 has a 5.7-inch display, the V7 Plus has a 5.99-inch one. Viewing angles are good and sunlight legibility is also pretty decent. But what's a bummer is that they're only 720p displays. Even more cheaper offerings from Xiaomi and Motorola have 1080p displays, and the recently reviewed 7X has a taller display too. Although the V7 Plus is not meant for one-hand usability, it's pretty manageable than its previous iterations. On the other hand, the smaller V7 is the perfect size for a taller yet manageable display. All in all, the display leaves a lot to be desired, especially in terms of resolution. The design language of the phone is neat, but nothing that you've never seen before. The back of the phone houses the 16-megapixel primary camera and the lightning-fast fingerprint scanner. Even the antenna lines are pushed to the edges to make a clean back. The color we got to review was the energetic blue, and your liking towards it could vary. Personally, it's something different and I can't say I didn't like it. The phone's profile is really slim, and if you add the metal build to it, the phone feels really good in the hand. But this also makes the device very slippery. It would slip off the desk when my phone would vibrate. To prevent just this, Vivo has thoughtfully included a silicone case in the box. The V7 has a Snapdragon 425, while the V7 Plus houses a Snapdragon 450. While none are powerhouses, day-to-day tasks run perfectly fine on these phones. I even tried gaming with Asphalt 8 on the V7 Plus, and apart from a few drop frames, the game was really playable. Along with the octa-core processor, these phones also have 4 GB of RAM. But in the V7, performance has taken a backseat in lieu of efficiency. More demanding game titles are very choppy and not enjoyable. A constant problem that I faced was that RAM management was pretty aggressive. The phone couldn't keep more than 4 to 5 applications in memory at once. After a little bit of digging in settings, I figured out how to manually enable applications to stay open in the background. But this definitely took a toll on the battery life. Now let's talk about the representative of any mobile phone experience, its software. FunTouch OS can be best described as an iOS-inspired Android experience. From the blurring of the screen and the notification panel to swiping up from the bottom for the control center, everything is eerily similar to iOS features and functions. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this skin over Android, as I am a vanilla Android fanatic. But this doesn't mean that the software is nothing good. It runs pretty smooth on the given hardware and has a lot of customizability options to truly make the phone yours. Even the software features like motion gestures, off-screen gestures, app clone, and game mode are pretty handy at times. Also worth mentioning is that the phone is running on Android Nougat 7.1.2 out of the box like most budget phones in the market. Surprisingly, for budget audiophiles, the phone also has a dedicated hi-fi audio chip which delivers some punchy audio through wired earphones. But again, this experience is only limited to the inbuilt music application. So apparently the Vivo V7 is all about the cameras. The Vivo V7 and the V7 Plus share the same camera modules. They both have a 24 megapixel camera on the front and a 16 megapixel camera on the back. Are they good? Let's check out. The front of the V7 graces a 24 megapixel shooter that is touted to be one of the best in the game by the company. Is it? Not really. Don't get me wrong, it's a great camera when the lighting's good and really gets some good selfies, especially with the portrait mode. But for a 24 megapixel sensor, it really doesn't take impressively detailed photos. The dynamic range was too low to be used outdoors. The front flash definitely helps illuminate shots at night, but noise is inherent in these pictures. Thankfully, the back snapper does a comparatively better job. Color reproduction and dynamic range were above average, and the photos looked pretty decent too. But again, it's nothing exceptional and definitely doesn't set benchmarks in the mid-range market. Videos taken from the phone suffer terribly due to lack of any stabilization. The only win in terms of video would be the mic quality, as it's capable of picking up a range of sounds without blowing either of them out of proportion. So all in all, these cameras work just fine and don't suffer from any major flaws. But if Vivo really wants to be true to its tag, the next generations really have to strive in areas apart from beauty modes and filters. Endurance is why most phones take a hit, but the Vivo V7 will definitely not turn you into a wall hugger, as the battery easily lasts throughout a hectic day. The battery backup was good enough for me to be carefree about not switching off GPS, data or Wi-Fi while not in use. The standby time was also magic, barely dropping a couple percent overnight. But what's a bummer again is the time that this phone takes to get back to 100%. For a phone that's launched in 2017, the V7 can be considered pretty orthodox, as it doesn't include a USB Type-C port, nor does it support fast charging. Making the phone reach 100% took so long that I would have to leave the phone charging overnight. To put an estimate, I'd say it takes a painstaking 4 hours for the phone to fully replenish itself. So where does this leave us with these phones? The V7 is a good performer overall, although with a lot of bugs. The cameras are great, but they're definitely not the best in the game. The battery life is commendable, but charging takes ages. And the Infinity display looks great, but the display quality is below average. But it'll be wrong on my behalf if I say that it wasn't enjoyable using these phones. The sleek metal body, some nifty software tricks, great audio output, and of course the head turning color definitely try to cover lost rounds and make the user experience more rich.